ways are there in order to create the exposures. Okay, so first point number one, let us see that one. How can we create the net exposures? Then how can we release that exposures? Okay, so now let's see into the system. Back. Then first what I am trying to do, THMEX is the transaction. Okay, activation of hedging area and all that I'll come later. Okay, so now what would be the hedge plan? First, you need to do the hedge plan. Let's say the company code. Let me give the 2525. Sorry. MM09. Company code is MM09. Enter here. So now let's click on the create. See now hedge plan. So what does it mean by the hedge plan? Before going to take any decision, because you thought that the raw materials price may be fluctuated. Due to that fluctuation, you would like to enter, you would like to take some positions. So, or you want to buy the raw materials. So according to your exposure is nothing but whatever you have the amount, liquidity in your hand. Based on that, you need to take a decision. Let's go here. Click on this one, create. The moment when I click this one, you can see here, hedge plan. Okay, so the hedge plan, let's say which I'm going to buy the raw material in the foreign exchange. Okay, let's say the Forex. Then Forex 01. Then start date. What would be the start date of the one? Okay, I'll give 01/01/2024. I'll give description. Sorry, description. Forex. Okay, I'll give the description is a Forex risk plan. Okay, I'm just giving the example. These are the free text. However you want, you can give. I'm repeating again. So now start date I have mentioned, right? What would be the end date? End date of, okay, I'll give this planning date is a 31/03. Okay, if this plan, if you see now, every time if there are any new plans, you can come back and you can add. Okay, there is your n number of hedge plans you can add in one. Okay, whenever you are creating that, I will show you. Okay, 2025. Okay, so now first enter this one. Then what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create the hedge plan. And let's save this one. First, let's save this one. Now you can see here the hedge plan, which is starting here, where you can see. Okay, so starting from 1/1/2024 to 31/3/2025 for foreign exchange risks, which I am going to plan. Just click on this one. It should not have any values. Remember, it should not have any values. Click on this one, hedge plan. You can see where you can see the exposure is a 0 at this moment. Hedge items are 0. Hedge relationship is a 0. Remember, very, very important one. It should not have any values initially when you are creating. Okay, come back here. So open hedge accounting, just this one, let it be. Okay, but I have not entered any exposure at this moment. Very, very important one. Okay, which you need to create. Then now the next one is now the next step which I'm going to create is create a raw exposure. Okay, first step number one, what I have done. Okay, so for the exposures management, right? First one, what I have done here is create hedge plan. Create hedge plan is the transaction code is a THMEX. Okay, so now in S4HANA, only the change point here is that I would say we have the Fury apps are there. Okay, through the Fury apps, we can create the hedge plans. Okay, whatever you want, but instead of that one, we have the transaction code also. You can use it. But now in S4HANA, majority of the clients will request, they would require the Fury app. But the here problem here is that there are Fury apps which are not working properly. So that is the reason I'm using the standard transaction code for your information. Then again, okay, once this will be completed, even I'm going to cover about the hedging cockpit also. Okay, first let me complete this one, then I'll come hedging cockpit, then we'll see that one. Okay, what I have done, I have created the hedge plan here. Now create raw exposure. Create raw exposure. Create a raw exposure is nothing but which I want to allocate. I mean, what would be the entire? This is my net exposure. Net exposure is nothing but your raw exposure. Then the transaction code. Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you. Even the path also it is there. FTR EX1 is the transaction code. /n FTR EX1. Joined. Waiting. No one is waiting. So, okay. So now what I'm trying to do here. Sorry. Now raw exposure, you can see raw exposure initial screen. Okay, so now the raw exposure, then we will create the raw exposure based on the, remember, I'll put the note, very, very important note here is the note. Sorry, this is important for your interview point of view also. Okay, the raw exposure, the raw exposure will be created based on what? Okay, will be created based on forecasted business transactions, as based on forecasted business transactions. What does it mean by forecasted transactions? I have already explained. It could be from the cash flow analyzer, it could be from investments, or it could be from payables, whatever it may be, based on the receivables and payables, which you need to consider this one. Okay, that's what I was trying to say here. So now let's say the exposure type. Then okay, so now you can see exposure. There is a, you can see here practically, even whatever I'm saying, these two things are exposure which you want to create based on the incoming, based on the outgoing, based on the forecasted analysis only, which you can create, right? Okay, apart from that you cannot create. Okay, so let me create the exposure based on the incoming. Okay, or if you want to create anything also, you can also create exposure activity, the new one. Okay, here you can see only two things are there, right? You can see here. Okay, so first I need to enter the exposure exposure activity type, then only I can enter. But to create the exposure activity, again there is a separate one, it is there. Okay, let me select the incoming, then click on create here. Click on create. As soon as once you enter this one, click on create this one. Now you can see here. Okay, so now origin, now you can see here. Now you can see the so now origin. Okay, so now company code. First let's give the default exposure category, very, very important one, the selection parameters here. So now what would be the source here? You can see here forecasted transactions, or firm commitment transaction, or asset or liability transactions. Okay, so which one is feasible for you? I'll select here is a forecasted transactions, based on the forecasted transactions, or you can leave it blank. If you leave it blank, it meaning that it's applicable for all. Okay, it's applicable for all. Okay, just for your information. Then let me leave this one. Company code MM09. Then country region is India. Country. Then okay, sorry, let's give the transaction category, right? Okay, let's give this one. Okay, otherwise 01. Let me keep it forecasted transactions only. Then company code we have given, country we have given. Then attributes here. Okay, free attributes here. Now you can see forex exposure attributes. Somebody has created this one. Direction, whether it is in or out. Okay, incoming direction only, which I wanted to select this one. Then so now valid from. Okay, the date is given. Go to the line items. Go to the line items tab here. So now, as of now, you can see here there is no line item. There is no exposure which is being created here. Remember, okay, there is no exposure has been created. Now, if I want to create the new exposure, you can see here, just click on the create new line item, create the new line item. Then, then here, see exposure due date. What would be the exposure due date? Exposure due date is nothing but when you are expecting the amount from the customers are from different one. Okay, whatever you want. Okay, exposure due date. Let me give the today's date. Okay, 24/08/2024. Then exposure amount. What is the amount which you are expecting? 4 lakhs rupees, the amount which I am expecting here. Then now you can see here. Okay, exposure amount currency, that is fine. Target profit center. If you want to give any profit center, you can give the profit center and cost center business area WBS element also. Okay. Again, there will be a one more field which I don't see that one. Segment on behalf of cost center, that is fine. Payment date, fine. There is a one field which is missing. Exposure segment payment date, that is fine. Profit center portfolio, we can select portfolio. Okay, so sorry. Okay, I need to give here is the all the fields are not appearing. There should be amount. I mean, amount is fine, but quantity also. Profit center, cost center, business area, segment on behalf of company code, payment date. Raw exposure item ID, period, plan. Let me select the different layout. In case different layout, so there is only one layout. Okay, first let me try to enter this one. Sub-raw exposures. Even we can differentiate in case if you wanted to see the sub-raw exposures. But here one thing is that the quantity which we can do the on behalf of company code. Behalf of the company code, we can give. But here one thing which I'm not getting, the field. I'm not sure that field. I'm expecting the quantity also. Maybe something we need to activate. Split here, it should come. Okay, let me check this one. Enter the exposure amount for line 001. Okay, so the exposure, enter the exposure amount currency for line 001. Where is this? Exposure ID. Exposure ID.
Currency is there, beside amount. Exposure amount currency.
Yeah, right. 1 second.
Currency, I think you need to
One
add
second. This is the currency. Okay. Does not exist in. Oh, okay. Got it. Exposure amount. This is INR only. Let's give the transaction. Let me check this one. Now, yeah, correct. You are correct. So raw exposure version is consistent, but one thing is that the planning, it should be appear. The planning in the sense, see, I want to buy for which one? I think the split I did not, I remember that split one I have not yet configured. Okay, so the split one, if I calculate the split one, then definitely that should come into picture. I remember that one, the split is not calculated. Okay. Then see, the split is nothing but a here which I want to split this amount for copper 2 lakhs rupees, for silver. Okay, this again one more pop-up will come into picture here. Then first let's go with the full allocation. Okay, otherwise then now user data, this is user data, nothing is there. Then let me save this. Let's see what it will happen. Now you can see here. You can see here, this is what the expected. This is what the expected, very important one. Raw exposure ID 001 released successfully, was saved, because again remember the change point here, the change point in S4HANA. I mean, even not only in S4HANA, what we need to do in general, the regular practice. So what we can do, we'll go and we'll release this ID. I mean, we'll release the raw exposure. Okay, so now I'll put that one also, the transaction code. The transaction code here is the 3. Release raw exposure. Release.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, this is end user area or configuration?
No, this is the end user area, ma'am. This is not the configuration activity.
But
Initially,
we
you
have,
need to.
yeah,
Yes.
but we have not done any configuration for this one, right?
No. We have not done, ma'am. This is just, see, what you have done. You just forecasted some reports, like let's say the cash flow analyzer, some vendor aging, customer aging report. So all you have
Yes.
consolidated, then you came to know there is a 4 lakhs rupees is the incoming amount. Okay, ma'am. On behalf
Okay.
of that one, you are just creating the exposure plan. That's it. Even we have not entered into the exposure, I mean the hedging. Okay, so see,
Okay.
ma'am, the indirectly what I am trying to say, for hedging, I mean the most of the configuration we have already done. Features and options, right? We have done. Features and options are the derivatives contracts. Okay. If you are really going with the commodities, then we need to check the configuration. But the most of the cases we have already the configuration, it is in place already. Ma'am, you are understanding, right?
Okay. Yeah, I understood. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. So now this is the one change point, because see, now if I am the user, if I create successfully the raw exposure into the SAP system, the change point, how the approval mechanism will be there in real-time environment, the same person should not release the exposure. Okay, should not release the exposure. Very important thing here is that the same person should not have the release raw exposure. Okay, FTREX2. FTREX2 is the transaction code. Release the raw exposure. Let's go and see. FTREX2. FTREX2. Okay, so now let's go for the raw exposure ID. Okay, so now the only one at this moment, no one has created this one. Okay, even I had created for other batches, but that is not in this system. Then let me execute this one. Raw exposure overview. You can see here, ma'am. I mean, for anyone, not only for her. So let's see here, overview of this one. What is the status? What is the status of this one? You can see See now exposure, foreign exposure incoming. Okay, so now you can see here this one. The one is a India. What is the company code? Whether company code is a mandatory, okay, which has been associated here. Again, here itself, okay, valid from, you can see here the status. The status is a very, very important one here. So in case if it is not yet released, initiated, okay, somebody, the initiation, again, these are the controls which we need to work with the basis security team in order to keep the controls. Okay, so first what I wanted to do, I wanted to create the exposure, then release initiation. First thing would be I may initiate to release to my manager. Then once he will review, the release person may have for the authorization edit, then and unreleased also. Then okay, archivable, this is different again. Okay, released. The release, the second level, the approver should have